I opened my eyes to the pale morning light filtering through my childhood bedroom curtains, and for one blessed moment, I thought it had all been a nightmare. Then I saw the date on my phone, March 15th, 2019. My hands started shaking. March 15th, 2019. 3 years before everything fell apart. 3 years before I lost everything: my credit, my career prospects, my mental health, my will to live. 3 years before I stood on that bridge, drowning in debt I never chose, destroyed by people who were supposed to love me. But I wasn't on that bridge. I was here, in my old bedroom at my parents' house, 26 years old again, with my credit score still intact and my future unwritten. I had been given something impossible: a second chance. The door burst open without a knock. Of course it didn't. In this house, I had never been granted the basic dignity of privacy. Mia! My younger sister Chelsea stood in the doorway, already dressed in designer clothes I now realized I had paid for. Her highlighted hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. At 23, she looked like she'd stepped out of an Instagram filter, all carefully curated beauty and casual cruelty. Mom says you need to get up. We have shopping to do. Shopping, right. This was the day it had all started. In my previous life, I had just received my first real paycheck from my new job as a junior architect at Morrison and Associates. I'd been so proud, so stupidly proud. I'd wanted to celebrate with my family to show them that all those years of scraping by through college had been worth it. That pride had been my downfall. "I'm not going," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. Chelsea's perfectly sculpted eyebrows shot up. "What?" I said, I'm not going shopping with you today." She laughed, that tinkling, condescending sound that had once made me feel small. Now it just made me angry. "Don't be ridiculous. Mom already planned the whole day. We're going to that new boutique downtown, then lunch at Catch. Then, did you not hear me?" I sat up, meeting her eyes directly for the first time in 2 lifetimes. "I'm not going." The laughter died. Chelsea's face shifted into something uglier, more familiar. The entitled annoyance of someone who had never been told no. "You're being selfish. This is supposed to be a family day." "A family day where I pay for everything?" "You just got a big fancy job. You can afford it." She flipped her hair, a gesture I'd seen 1,000 times. "Besides, you know how hard things have been for Mom and Dad. The least you can do is help out your baby sister." The least I could do. I'd heard that phrase more times than I could count. The least I could do after they'd raised me. The least I could do when Chelsea needed something. The least I could do to be a good daughter, a good sister. In my previous life, I'd gone shopping that day. I'd paid for Chelsea's designer haul, over $2,000. And when she'd asked to keep my credit card just for emergencies, I'd said yes. Because I was the oldest, because I was supposed to help, because saying no had never been an option in this family. That emergency card had been the first step on a road that led to my destruction. "Chelsea," I said quietly, "Sussy, I need you to leave my room." "Excuse me?" "Get out." For a moment, she just stared at me, shock written across her face. Then the shock morphed into rage. "I'm telling Mom you're being a complete bitch." She stormed out, leaving the door open because, of course, she did. I listened to her stomp down the stairs, heard her shrill voice calling for our mother, the same old patterns, the same old dynamics. But I wasn't the same. I got up and locked my bedroom door, then sat at my old desk with my laptop. My hands were still shaking, but my mind was crystal clear. I remembered everything. Every charge, every lie, every moment of betrayal. And I remembered what I'd learned too late. Documentation is everything. I opened a new email account, one my family didn't know about. Then I logged into my bank account and credit card accounts, taking screenshots of every pristine statement, every zero balance. Proof of what I had before they destroyed it. Because this time, I wasn't going to be a victim. This time, I was going to be a witness to my own case. My mother's voice echoed up the stairs. Mia Grace Chen, you get down here right now. I took a breath and headed downstairs. Mom stood in the kitchen with her arms crossed, Chelsea beside her, wearing an expression of vindicated smugness. Dad sat at the kitchen table, hidden behind his newspaper as always, present but deliberately uninvolved. Chelsea says you're refusing to spend time with your family, Mom said. Her voice had that particular edge that used to make my stomach drop. I said I'm not going shopping. After everything we've done for you. Mom's eyes narrowed. We sacrificed everything to put you through college. I had a full scholarship, I interrupted, and I worked 2 jobs to cover my living expenses. Don't you dare use that tone with me. Her voice rose. We gave you a home, we fed you, we raised you, and now that you finally have some money, you can't even do this one small thing for your sister? I looked at Chelsea, who was trying and failing to hide a smirk. I looked at Dad, who turned a page of his newspaper. I looked at Mom, who had perfected the art of making her love conditional on my compliance. In my previous life, this guilt trip had worked. I'd apologized, gone shopping, started down that path of financial destruction. No, I said simply. Mom's face flushed red. What did you just say to me? I said no. I'm not going shopping. I'm not giving Chelsea my credit card. I'm not funding anyone's lifestyle but my own. How dare you? Mom took a step forward. After all we've done, this is how you repay us? By being selfish and greedy? Selfish, greedy, the words that it had controlled me my entire first life, the words they used whenever I tried to keep anything for myself. I'm moving out, I said, today. The kitchen went silent except for the ticking of the clock on the wall. You're what? Mom's voice was dangerously quiet. Moving out? I make enough to afford my own place now. I'll be gone by tonight. Mia, Dad finally lowered his newspaper. Be reasonable. You just started your job. You should save your money, not waste it on rent. So I can spend it on Chelsea instead. Your sister needs support, Mom snapped. She's going through a difficult time. Chelsea was going through a difficult time the way she'd been going through the difficult times her entire life. Too stressed for a job, too anxious for school, too delicate for any kind of responsibility. And I was expected to fund her extended adolescence while she posted Instagram photos from expensive brunches and weekend trips. In my previous life, I'd believed them. I'd thought I was helping. I'd been so desperate for their approval that I'd let them bleed me dry. I'm done discussing this, I said. I'll pack my things. If you walk out that door, don't expect to come back, Mom said. If you're going to abandon your family over money, then you're not my daughter. There it was, the ultimate threat, the one that had kept me compliant for so long. I met her eyes. Okay. Okay? She looked genuinely shocked. If that's how you feel, then okay. I'll be out in a few hours. I turned and walked upstairs, my heart pounding but my steps steady. Behind me, I heard Mom's voice rising in anger, Chelsea's dramatic sobbing, Dad's weak attempts at peacekeeping. The same old symphony of dysfunction I'd grown up with. But I was done being the audience. I packed my car with everything that mattered, my clothes, my laptop, my documents. It wasn't much. I'd lived light, never accumulating many possessions because money had always been tight. But I was grateful for that now. It made leaving easier. As I loaded the last box, Chelsea appeared on the front porch. You're really going, she said. For once, she wasn't sneering. She looked almost uncertain. Yes. Mom's right, you're being selfish. I closed the trunk and looked at her, really looked at her. She was beautiful and spoiled and utterly convinced of her own importance. In my previous life, I'd envied her. The golden child who could do no wrong. Now I just felt sorry for her. Chelsea, do you know how much debt I was in when I died? She blinked. What? Never mind. I shook my head. Of course that didn't make sense to her. To her, this was just a normal day, just me being inexplicably difficult. Goodbye, Chelsea. Mom's going to cut you off completely. You know that, right? I'm counting on it. I got in my car and drove away from my childhood home without looking back. In my rearview mirror, I saw Chelsea standing on the porch looking confused and small. I felt a pang of something, not quite sympathy, but something close. Then I remembered what she would do, what she would take from me, what she would help them all take from me. And I kept driving. I found a studio apartment on the other side of town. It was small and the building was old, but it was clean and safe, and most importantly, it was mine. I signed the lease that afternoon, paid the deposit with money that was actually mine to spend, and moved in immediately. That night, I sat on my air mattress, real furniture would come later, and made lists, detailed, comprehensive lists of everything I remembered. The shopping trip was just the beginning. After that came Chelsea's emergency car repair that wasn't an emergency at all. She'd wanted a newer model. Then Mom's unexpected medical bills that turned out to be elective cosmetic procedures. Dad's investment opportunity that was actually a gambling debt. Chelsea's internship in New York that was a month-long vacation. The engagement ring for Chelsea's boyfriend. The wedding that never happened because the boyfriend left. The apartment Chelsea needed because she couldn't possibly live at home anymore. The credit card she maxed out and never paid back. The loans she took in my name. The fraud that destroyed my credit score. The job I lost because of the financial stress. The downward spiral that ended with me on that bridge. I documented it all. Dates, amounts, everything I could remember. Then I created a spreadsheet with a different timeline. This timeline. The one where I knew what was coming and could prove every charge, every lie, every illegal action. Because in my previous life, I'd been too ashamed to tell anyone what was happening. Too embarrassed to admit that my own family was using me. By the time I'd realized the extent of the damage, I'd been too deep in debt to fight back. No one had believed me when I'd said the charges weren't mine. I'd had no proof, no documentation, no way to prove that my own family had committed fraud. This time would be different. This time, I had the ultimate advantage. I knew exactly what they would do next. The first call came 3 days later. Mom, trying a different approach. "Mia, honey, I think we all said some things we didn't mean." Her voice was syrupy sweet, the tone she used when she wanted something. "Why don't you come home for dinner? We can talk this through like a family." "I'm happy with my new place, Mom." "You can't stay mad at us forever. We're your family." "I'm not mad. I'm just establishing boundaries." Boundaries. She said it like a dirty word. "Since when do you need boundaries from your own mother?" "Since always." I just didn't realize it before. A long pause, then, "Chelsea really needs your help with something." "No." "You haven't even heard what it is." "Doesn't matter. The answer is no." Mia Grace Chen. I raised you better than this. Family helps family. Family doesn't exploit family. I said quietly. "Goodbye, Mom." I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking again, but this time it was from adrenaline, not fear. I'd done it. I'd said no, and the world hadn't ended. The second call came an hour later, Chelsea crying. "Mia, please, I need your help. My car broke down and I don't have money for the repair." There it was, the emergency that wasn't an emergency. "Take it to a mechanic," I said. "Get a quote. If it's actually broken, Dad can help you." "Dad doesn't have any money right now. Please, Mia, I'll pay you back, I promise." "I'll pay you back." The words she'd said 100 times in my previous life, never once following through. "No, Chelsea." "Are you serious right now? My car is literally undrivable." "Then Uber to work until you save up for the repair." "I don't have a job." "Then get one." "Oh my God, you've become such a bitch." Her tears turned to anger in an instant. "I can't believe you're abandoning me like this. What happened to you?" "I died because of you," I thought. I stood on a bridge at 32 years old, drowning in debt that should never have been mine, and I jumped because I couldn't see any other way out. "I grew up," I said instead. "You should try it." I hung up. The third call came that evening. Dad. Mia, your mother is very upset. I know. Can't you just help your sister out? It's not that much money. How much is it, Dad? I don't know exactly. A few hundred? Maybe 1,000? And why can't you give her $1,000? Silence. Then, that's not the point. That's exactly the point. You want me to pay for things you won't pay for yourself. You make more money now. You can afford it. And what about my student loans, my bills, my savings? You're being selfish, Mia. There was that word again. Selfish. The weapon they'd used to control me my entire life. If being selfish means not destroying my financial future, then yes, I'm being selfish, and I'm going to keep being selfish. Your mother's right. You've changed. I hope so. He hung up without saying goodbye. I sat in my little studio apartment, surrounded by unpacked boxes, and cried. Not because I regretted my choices, but because it hurt to realize that my family's love had always been conditional, that I'd only been valuable to them as a resource to be exploited. But I also felt lighter than I had in years, in either lifetime. Work became my sanctuary. Morrison & Associates was a mid-sized architecture firm with a reputation for innovative residential design. My boss, Sarah Morrison, was a brilliant architect and a demanding teacher. In my previous life, I'd been too stressed and distracted to fully appreciate the opportunity. Financial anxiety had eaten away at my focus, my creativity, my ability to do my job well. This time, I threw myself into my work completely. Without the constant drain of my family's demands, I could concentrate. I stayed late, volunteered, for extra projects, soaked up every piece of knowledge Sarah offered. You're doing excellent work, Sarah told me after I'd been there a month. Keep this up and we'll talk about moving you to permanent staff after your probation period. In my previous life, I'd never made it to permanent staff. The stress had made me sloppy, unreliable. I'd been let go after 6 months, right when my debts had been spiraling out of control. Thank you, I said. I love it here. Good, because I'm putting you on the Riverside project. It's a big residential development, lots of moving parts. Think you can handle it? Absolutely, she smiled. I had a feeling you'd say that. The Riverside project was exactly what I needed. Complex, challenging, all-consuming. I dove into it with everything I had, determined to prove myself, to build the career I'd lost in my previous life. And every day, I went home to my little studio, ate simple meals, and documented everything my family was doing, because they hadn't stopped trying. The messages came daily. Text messages, voicemails, emails. Mom alternating between guilt trips and rage. Chelsea playing the victim, the abandoned little sister who couldn't understand why I'd changed. Dad sending passive-aggressive messages about family loyalty. I saved every single one. Then came the friend requests on social media. I accepted them all, Mom, Dad, Chelsea, various aunts and uncles, and family friends. And I watched their posts carefully. Chelsea's Instagram was a goldmine, designer bags, expensive dinners, weekend trips to wine country, all while claiming to be broke, unable to afford her car repair, struggling to make ends meet. I screenshot every post, dated and filed them away, then I checked my credit report. Everything was clean, perfect credit score, no unusual activity. But I set up alerts for everything, any new credit inquiry, any account opened in my name, any unusual activity. I would know immediately, and I waited. It took 2 months. The alert came on a Tuesday morning. A new credit card account had been opened in my name. My heart rate spiked, but I wasn't surprised. If anything, I was relieved. It was starting, the fraud I remembered, the destruction I'd experienced. But this time, I was watching. I checked my credit report immediately. Capital One, $15,000 limit. Application submitted online 3 days ago. They'd forged my signature, used my social security number, probably had Chelsea apply in person with a fake ID, or done it entirely online with information they had access to. In my previous life, I hadn't known about this card until I'd received a collections notice 6 months later. By then, it had been maxed out, and I'd been told I was responsible because it was in my name. This time, I called the credit card company immediately. Capital One Fraud Department, this is Marcus speaking. Hi, I received an alert that a credit card was opened in my name, but I didn't apply for any credit card. I can help you with that. Can I get your name and social security number? I provided the information and waited while he pulled up the account. I see the account here opened 3 days ago. You're saying you didn't apply for this? That's correct. I never applied for this card. This is identity theft. I understand. I'm going to flag this account as fraudulent and start an investigation. The card hasn't been activated yet, which is good. Do you have any idea who might have applied for this card? I have suspicions, but I'd rather not say until I have more proof. That's fine. For now, we'll freeze the account and send you documentation for a police report. We'll also flag your profile to prevent any additional applications. Is there anything else I can help you with? Yes. Can you tell me what address was used for the application? He gave me the address, my parents' house. And can you preserve all documentation related to this application? I may need it for legal purposes. Absolutely. We'll keep everything on file. You should receive our fraud packet in the mail within 5 to 7 business days. I thanked him and hung up, then immediately filed a police report online for identity theft. I included the credit card information, the address, everything. Then I called my bank and put additional security measures on all my accounts. Verbal password required for any phone transactions. In-person ID check required for any changes, fraud alerts on everything. I was building my case piece by piece. The angry calls started that afternoon. What the hell did you do? Chelsea's voice was shrill with rage. The credit card company called and said there was fraud. Because there was fraud. Someone applied for a credit card in my name without my permission. That's not fraud. Mom was trying to help you build credit. I almost laughed. By opening accounts without my knowledge or consent? That's literally the definition of fraud. You're being ridiculous. We're family. It's not fraud when it's family. Actually, it's still fraud. It's also identity theft. And I filed a police report. Silence, then. You did what? Filed a police report. This is a criminal matter now. Mia. Her voice changed, became wheedling. Come on, don't do this. Just cancel the report. We can work this out. There's nothing to work out. A crime was committed. It was Mom. Are you really going to get Mom in trouble over a stupid credit card? I'm going to protect myself. If Mom committed fraud, that's her problem. You're really going to do this? You're going to choose money over your own family? I'm choosing not to be a victim, I said. Goodbye, Chelsea. I hung up and immediately received a call from Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Mia Grace Chen, you call me back right now. I don't know what kind of person you've become, but this is unacceptable. That credit card was for your benefit. I was trying to help you. And now you're accusing me of being a criminal? Your own mother? You are selfish and ungrateful, and if you don't fix this right now, you are dead to me. Do you hear me? Dead to me. I saved the voicemail, added it to my growing file of evidence. The Capital One fraud packet arrived a week later. It included copies of the application, forged signature and all. IP address records showing the application had been submitted from my parents' house. Everything I needed. I made copies of everything and stored the originals in a safety deposit box I'd opened specifically for this purpose. Then I waited for the next move. It came 2 weeks later. Another credit card, this time with Chase. $20,000 limit. I called immediately, reported the fraud, filed another police report. The next day, a car loan application flagged by my credit monitoring service. Another call, another fraud report, another police report. They were getting desperate, trying everything to access credit in my name. And with each attempt, I documented, reported, and added to my case. After the fourth fraudulent application in a month, I received a call from a detective. Ms. Chen, this is Detective Rodriguez with the Financial Crimes Unit. I'm calling about the identity theft reports you filed. My heart jumped. Yes? I've reviewed your reports and I have to say this is an unusual case. Multiple fraud attempts, all using the same address. Do you know who lives at that address? My parents and my younger sister. A pause. I see. And you believe they're responsible for these applications? I know they are. I have documentation if you'd like to see it. I would. Can you come to the station tomorrow? Absolutely. Detective Rodriguez was a tired-looking woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. I liked her immediately. Ms. Chen, I have to say, most identity theft victims don't come in this prepared. She looked through the binder I'd brought. Copies of every fraudulent application, every saved text message and voicemail, screenshots of Chelsea's Instagram showing her expensive lifestyle, financial records showing I'd cut off contact with my family before the fraud attempts began. I work in architecture, I said. I believe in documentation. Clearly. She continued reading, her expression darkening. This is pretty damning. Your sister posted photos of new designer bags on the same day these credit card applications were submitted. Your mother left voicemails explicitly referencing trying to help by opening credit accounts in your name. There's more. I pulled out another folder. I've been tracking patterns. Every time I refuse to give them money, a new fraudulent application appears within a week. It's retaliatory. Detective Rodriguez looked up at me. You understand that if we pursue this, we're talking about pressing charges against your family. Criminal charges. They could face jail time. I understand. Are you sure you want to do this? I thought about my previous life. The years of debt, the destroyed credit, the lost opportunities, the shame and stress that had consumed me. The bridge. Yes, I said, I'm sure. She nodded slowly. Okay then, let's build a case. Building a case took time. Detective Rodriguez was thorough. She subpoenaed records from the credit card companies, banks, even social media platforms. She interviewed me multiple times, getting detailed statements about my relationship with my family, the timeline of events, my certainty about their involvement. The problem, she explained during one meeting, is proving who specifically submitted these applications. They all came from your parents' house, but that doesn't tell us if it was your mother, your father, or your sister. We need more. What about the voicemail where mom admits to opening accounts? It helps, but it's not explicit enough. She says she was trying to help, but a defense attorney could argue she meant something else. We need direct evidence. I thought for a moment. What if they try again? And this time we're ready? What do you mean? They're not going to stop. They think I'm being unreasonable, that eventually I'll give in. If we know another attempt is coming, can we monitor it somehow? Track who's doing it in real time? Detective Rodriguez smiled. I like the way you think. The trap was set with the help of a friend from work, Tom, an IT specialist who owed me a favor after I'd helped him with a design problem. You want me to do what? He asked when I explained. Create a fake credit card offer. Make it look legitimate, high limit, easy approval, and embed tracking code so we can see who opens it and what device they use. That's technically legal, I think, as long as it's not an actual phishing scam. It's not. It's a honeypot. To catch someone committing fraud. He grinned. I'm in. We spent a weekend designing the perfect bait. A too-good-to-be-true credit card offer with my name on it, sent to my parents' address where I still received some mail. Pre-approved, no credit check needed, $25,000 limit. The kind of thing that would be irresistible to someone trying to commit fraud. The letter went out on a Monday. By Wednesday, someone had scanned the QR code on the fake application. Tom called me immediately. Got a hit. Someone accessed the application from an IP address in your parents' neighborhood. Based on the device fingerprint, it's a smartphone. An iPhone 12. Chelsea has an iPhone 12. Can you confirm it's hers specifically? I thought fast. Give me an hour. I called Chelsea from a blocked number, let it ring twice, then hung up. A minute later, I checked with Tom. Did that same device just receive a call? Hold on, Mike. Yes, same device ID, call notification at exactly the same time. That's her phone. and she's currently filling out the application. I'm watching her do it in real time. My heart pounded. Can you record it? Already am. Screen capture and everything. Timestamps included. Send everything to Detective Rodriguez. I gave him the email address. And Tom, thank you. Are you kidding? This is the most interesting thing I've done in months. Your sister is really doing this, huh? Yeah, she really is. Detective Rodriguez called the next morning. We have her. The evidence Tom sent over is rock solid, timestamps, device fingerprints, the whole application filled out in her handwriting style. Combined with everything else, we have enough to press charges. What happens now? Now we bring them in for questioning. All three of them, your parents and your sister. I should warn you, Ms. Chen, this is going to get ugly. It already is ugly, at least this way it's getting resolved. Okay then, I'll keep you updated. The call came 2 days later, Chelsea, sobbing. Mia, please, you have to help me. The police are asking questions about credit card fraud. They think I did something. You have to tell them it's a mistake. I took a deep breath. Did you submit a credit card application in my name without my permission? It was for you. I was trying to help. That's not what I asked. Did you submit an application in my name? Mia, please. Yes or no, Chelsea? Yes, but then you did commit fraud, and I can't help you. You have to. I'm your sister. Just tell them you gave me permission. But I didn't, and I'm not going to lie to the police. They're talking about pressing charges. I could go to jail. You should have thought about that before you committed fraud. Mia, her voice broke. Please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Just help me this one time and I'll never ask for anything again. I promise. How many times had I heard that promise? How many times had I believed it? No, Chelsea. You did this to yourself. I hate you. The sorrow turned to rage in an instant. I hate you so much. You're letting them destroy your family over money, over credit cards. What kind of monster are you? The kind who refuses to be a victim anymore. Goodbye, Chelsea. I hung up. Mom called 30 seconds later. I didn't answer. Then Dad. Then Mom again. Then a number I didn't recognize. Then another. I turned off my phone and sat in my apartment in the silence. It was done. After months of planning, documenting, building my case, it was finally done. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. The preliminary hearing was on a gray Tuesday in October. I sat in the courtroom gallery watching as my family was arraigned on multiple counts of identity theft and fraud. Chelsea looked small and scared, nothing like the confident Instagram princess I'd grown up envying. Mom looked furious, her face red and eyes blazing. Dad looked defeated, shoulders slumped. Their attorney tried to argue that this was a family misunderstanding, not a criminal matter, Detective. Rodriguez calmly presented the evidence, the forged applications, the time-stamped surveillance data from the honeypot, the voicemails admitting to opening accounts, the pattern of retaliatory fraud attempts. The judge was unimpressed with the defense. I've seen a lot of identity theft cases, she said, but this is one of the most clear-cut. Multiple attempts, clear documentation, obvious financial motive. The fact that the defendants are related to the victim doesn't change the nature of the crime. It actually makes it worse. There was a relationship of trust that was violated. Bail was set. Mom turned around in the courtroom and spotted me in the gallery. Her eyes widened, then narrowed with pure hatred. You, she hissed. You did this. You destroyed your own family. No, I said quietly. You destroyed it when you decided I was more valuable as a resource than as a daughter. The bailiff moved to escort them out. Chelsea was crying, dramatic sobs that echoed through the courtroom. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. As they left, I heard Mom's voice carrying back, "You're dead to me, do you hear me? Dead!" The same words she'd said in my previous life, right before I'd maxed out my final credit card trying to make her happy, right before I'd lost everything. Good, I whispered. The trial took 8 months. 8 months of deposition, negotiations, media attention. My family tried everything, playing the victim, claiming I'd given them permission, arguing that cultural expectations made their behavior acceptable. None of it worked. The evidence was overwhelming. The prosecution had surveillance data, voicemails, text messages, social media posts, expert testimony about fraud patterns. They had my testimony about the years of financial abuse, the pressure, the guilt trips. Chelsea's lawyer tried to paint her as misguided rather than criminal, a young woman who'd made a mistake. But the multiple fraudulent applications, the escalating amounts, the retaliatory timing, it all painted a picture of deliberate, calculated theft. Mom's lawyer argued she'd been trying to help me build credit, that her intentions were good. Detective Rodriguez destroyed that argument by showing that Mom had never made a single payment on any of the fraudulent accounts, that she'd actually tried to max them out. Dad claimed he'd known nothing about it. That defense fell apart when they found text messages between him and Mom discussing how to handle my refusal to help the family financially. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty. All 3 of them. Multiple counts. Sentencing came in June. I sat in the same courtroom, listening as the judge handed down her decision. "These crimes represent a profound violation of trust," she said. "The defendants didn't just commit fraud, they systematically exploited a family member for years. They used their relationship to access personal information, then used that information to commit identity theft. And when the victim refused to enable their behavior anymore, they escalated to criminal activity." The pre-sentencing reports show no remorse. Instead, the defendants continue to maintain that the victim is at fault for not supporting her family. This lack of accountability is troubling. Chelsea, 18 months in prison, followed by probation and restitution. Mom, 2 years in prison, followed by probation and restitution. Dad, 1 year in prison, followed by probation and restitution, with the lesser sentence due to his peripheral role. The restitution was particularly satisfying. They owed me not just the amounts they'd fraudulently charged, but also penalties, interest, and damages. The total came to over $80,000, more than I'd lost in my previous life, but less than I would have lost if I hadn't stopped them early. As the bailiffs led them away, Mom screamed at me, "I hope you're happy. You've destroyed your own family. You'll never have anyone who loves you now." I watched her go, feeling nothing but relief. Because I'd already been destroyed once by their version of love. This was survival. Life moved on, stranger and better than I'd imagined. Morrison and Associates promoted me to senior architect after I led the successful completion of the Riverside project. Sarah became not just a boss, but a mentor, teaching me the business side of architecture along with the creative. I moved to a bigger apartment, one with actual bedroom and a balcony overlooking the city. I furnished it slowly, carefully, choosing each piece because I liked it, not because it was cheap or convenient. I dated occasionally, though I was cautious about trust. One relationship showed promise. Jake, a teacher I'd met at a coffee shop, patient and kind and unbothered by my complicated family history. "Everyone has baggage," he said when I'd finally told him the whole story. "At least you unpacked yours." I made friends at work, real friends who invited me to dinner parties and movie nights and didn't expect me to pay for everything. People who liked me for me, not for what I could give them. And slowly, carefully, I rebuilt my relationship with myself. A year after the sentencing, I received a letter in the mail. Chelsea, writing from prison. "Mia, I've had a lot of time to think. The counselor here says I need to take accountability, so here it is. I was wrong. I was selfish and entitled, and I took advantage of you. Mom and Dad raised me to think I deserved everything I wanted, that you were supposed to provide it, and I never questioned that. I never asked if it was fair to you. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it, but I want you to know that I'm trying to be better. I got my GED in here. I'm taking business classes. I'm learning what it means to actually work for something instead of expecting it to be handed to me. I don't know if I'll ever be able to make this right. I stole from you, not just money, but trust and time and peace of mind. I understand if you never want to hear from me again. But if there's any chance, someday, that we could have a relationship again, A real one, not the toxic thing we had before. I'd like that. Not now. I need to prove myself first. But maybe someday. Your sister, Chelsea. I read the letter 3 times, looking for manipulation, for the old patterns of guilt tripping and victim playing. But it seemed genuine, raw in a way Chelsea had never been before. I didn't respond immediately. I needed time to think, to feel, to decide what I wanted. A week later, I wrote back, Chelsea, I appreciate your letter and your honesty. You're right that what you did was wrong, and I'm not ready to forgive yet. Maybe I never will be, but I'm willing to consider the possibility that people can change. If you want a relationship someday, it will have to be completely different from what we had before. Boundaries will be firm and non-negotiable. Trust will be earned slowly, and I will never again sacrifice my well-being for yours. I hope your classes are going well. I hope you're learning and growing, and I hope you find a way to be happy that doesn't involve hurting other people. Mia. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't reconciliation, but it was a door left slightly open, just in case. Mom and Dad never wrote. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that they'd divorced while in prison, each blaming the other for their situation. Mom claimed Dad had pressured her. Dad claimed Mom had manipulated him. Neither took responsibility for their own choices. They were released on probation after serving their minimum sentences. I heard Mom moved to another state, got a job in retail. Dad stayed local, but we never crossed paths. I didn't seek them out. They'd made their choice, to see me as a resource rather than a daughter. And I'd made mine, to refuse that role no matter the cost. Some families are worth fighting for, mine wasn't. 2 years after the trial, I stood in my office at Morrison & Associates, my office with my name on the door, and looked out at the city skyline. I was 31 years old in this timeline, 1 year younger than I'd been when I died in the other one. But I was infinitely richer in every way that mattered. I had a career I loved, a home that was mine, friends who valued me, a boyfriend who made me laugh, money and savings, plans for the future, peace. Most importantly, I had myself back, the version of me that had been buried under years of guilt and obligation and manipulation. The version that knew how to say no, that understood boundaries, that refused to be a victim. My phone buzzed. Sarah texting about a new project, a boutique hotel downtown, big budget, creative freedom. She wanted me to lead the design team. I smiled and texted back my acceptance. Then I took one last look at the city, the life I'd rebuilt from nothing, the future I'd reclaimed. I'm not dead to you, whispered to the ghost of my mother's words. I'm dead to the version of me that let you destroy her. And good riddance. I turned back to my desk, to my work, to the life I'd chosen. Epilogue, 5 years later. The notification pinged on my phone as I was leaving a client meeting. A message from Chelsea on social media, the first contact since our brief correspondence years ago. Hi, Mia. I know you might not want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know I finished my business degree. I got a job at a nonprofit helping women leaving incarceration find employment. I've been working there for 6 months now, and I love it. I'm not asking for anything. I just thought you'd want to know that I'm trying to be the person I should have been all along, the person who thinks about others instead of just herself. If you ever want to meet for coffee, no pressure, no expectations, just 2 people who used to be sisters trying to figure out if they can be friends, I'm here. I stared at the message for a long time. 5 years ago, I would have said reconciliation was impossible, that some betrayals were too deep to heal, but I'd learned a lot in 5 years. I'd learned that healing isn't linear, that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, that you can acknowledge someone's growth while still protecting yourself. I typed a response. I'm proud of you for the work you're doing. It sounds meaningful. I'm not ready for coffee yet, but I'm not ruling it out either. Maybe we start with occasional messages and see where it goes. Her response came quickly. That sounds perfect. Thank you for even considering it. And Mia? I really am sorry for everything. I know. Work on yourself, Chelsea. Not for me, but for you. I am, I promise. I put my phone away and headed to my car. Jake was cooking dinner tonight. Something elaborate he'd been planning for days. Tomorrow, I had a presentation for the hotel project. This weekend, Sarah was throwing a party to celebrate the firm's 20th anniversary. My life was full in ways I'd never imagined. Not perfect. There was still sadness, still moments when I felt the weight of what I'd lost and what I'd had to do. But it was mine, built on my terms, protected by my boundaries, sustained by my choices. As I drove home through the city streets, I thought about the bridge, the one I'd never stand on in this timeline, the one that had ended my first life. I'd chosen a different ending this time, not an easy one. The path I'd walked had been hard, lonely, painful. I'd lost my family to save myself. I'd turned in my own mother, sister, father to protect my future. Some people might call that cold, cruel, unforgiving. I called it survival. And as I pulled into my parking spot, saw Jake's car already there, our dinner waiting, our evening ahead of us, I knew I'd made the right choice. Because I was alive. Truly alive. Not just existing in the shadow of other people's expectations, but living authentically, freely, wholly. And that was worth everything I'd lost. The end.